What is up, y'all? It is time for the next episode of the We're Getting Rowdy podcast. As you know, I'm Tyler McBee.
I'm Cooper Bell.
And a little bit of an uneventful week. So, as we all know, our game got postponed because of COVID. You could say, though, it wasn't because of us. A&M was the one who had all the contact tracing. I think I read they had like 12 to 15 guys who had to go into that protocol, which is an outstanding number when you think about you need 53 scholarship players, they said, to be eligible to play, on top of what, didn't they have like 8 opt-outs early on in the year, and on top of, like they said, 4 guys were injured. It makes sense why it got postponed for all this.
The Auburn game next week is up in the air as well.
Yeah, that it is. As of right now, we're still on for that one. But also to start out, this is a message to all the Rocky Top Rowdies. There will be an interest meeting tonight at 6 p.m. at the track, where, if I'm not mistaken, I think dues will also be accepted. So
$10.
$10, pay your membership dues, which will get you in early to the basketball games.
And a free and a T-shirt.
The T-shirt. That is true. It's like free T-shirt in a way, you could say. I mean, but in a way, not really, because you're paying the $10. But, I mean, to get early access 10, 15 minutes prior before everybody else, it is worth it. But, and also to touch, soccer will end up play in the quarterfinals against Vanderbilt on Tuesday at 1. We actually had a bye all the way up to the quarterfinals just with the high seed we had. So, couldn't really have a lot to talk with them either, except just the preview of that game. And I think it should be a good game. I hope to see them make it far. But basketball actually had some great news this week. With the Lady Vols, we had 2 forwards and 2 guards signed with Kelly Harper's 4-person signing class, and Caroline Striplin, Kaya Wynn, Sarah Puckett, and Brooklyn Miles. Miles and Wynn are the 2 guards, while Puckett and Striplin are the 2 forwards up there, which is needed position since Renai, as the forward guard mix, will be graduating after this year. And just considering with the amount of guards we had losing due to transfer out with Zay Green, Jazz Massengale, this is going to help at least replenish that depth as well. But I'm pretty excited what Kelly Harper's done with recruiting. She has not disappointed me so far for still a younger head coach out there. But then basketball got some huge news for the men. Top 100 player forward out of California, Jemai Meshack, inked his letter of intent in on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And 5-star Kennedy Chandler, original Memphis native, who's now out in Kansas, signed his letter of intent to come play basketball for the Vols.
You absolutely love to see it. Stealing somebody away from Kansas and Memphis.
Yeah, and considering at one point, if you looked, I think Chandler's top 5 when he committed to us was us, Kansas, Memphis, Duke, UNC.
Yeah,
at that point.
Your usual big boys.
So beating out all of those guys out there is good.
Oh, yeah.
You love to see it. And he's an in-state kid, too. Like, he admitted, why not play for the in-state school? He's got already some friends at UT with Jabari Small and Omari Thomas. They went to Briarcrest together. Omari and him played basketball together at Briarcrest, we got to remember.
Yeah.
But just look at what even Barnes is building up there. It makes you excited for the future, considering now how many, it's been 3 back-to-back years of 5 stars, like with getting Josiah James, then you got Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer, and now you have Kennedy Chandler. And I mean, in a way,
when was the last time Tennessee had 3 years in a row where they signed a 5-star?
A long time from what I can remember. I was going to say, in a way, you could argue Meshack shows some potential for maybe a lower 5-star, very higher 4-star with seeing what this kid can do, because in my opinion, Meshack is going to be one of the best defenders we've signed in years under Barnes. Just natural defender at that point. Some of the guys came in, they got more developed into the right defender, but he seems like the most gifted naturally, right out the gate at that. And I think every interview, hasn't Meshack pretty much said his big game he focuses is his defense at that point, and that's what he wanted to hammer the most at, and you love to see that in the SEC, especially when you have those teams like Kentucky every year.
Well, and And I know it's mostly said in football, but I mean, honestly, it can equate to basketball as well. But defense wins championships.
That is true. You cause those turnovers on basketball, and you able to make those
Get those
the
rebounds.
points off of them, and like just use your defense. That's going to help you go far. And
Yeah.
And then Kennedy is one of the most pure like scoring point guards I've seen in a while. But he also loves feeding the ball to his teammates.
Yeah.
He is not just the selfish, I'm going to do it myself type point guard, which we know Barnes don't like.
Yeah, and like that's what I've loved about Rick Barnes' teams that he's had here in Tennessee. Like there really hasn't been a selfish player on the team.
Nope. At like one game, I remember it was back when we still had Admiral and them. Like Admiral went off for like almost 30 one game. The next week it was like Grant. Then it was like Bone, Bowden,
Kyle.
Yeah, so like they all would just like almost have like so many different players would come out each game at that point, and that's just the way instillment of the you could really say the whole like discipline act Barnes have and the culture for them. They all want to work as a team, and you know, looking at just potentially losing Anasicki, Fulke, and Eves due to eligibility, exhausting. We'll say like even if we get one of them back. Which makes sense why we only have two guys signed, so that leaves potential for one to come back. If Springer and Keon don't become one and dones, you cannot argue that that team next year, when you add Kennedy, Chandler, and Meshack, could not make a deep run for the tourney at that point.
We're going to be making a deep run in the tourney this
I mean,
year.
we were
knock on wood.
We were listed as one of the 6 or 8 teams that they said has the potential to win it all, just based on our roster.
Yeah, well, you have the good mix of a veteran presence with Fulke, Anasicki, Pons, and Josiah. He had really good, valuable playing time last year.
And then even seeing what Vescovi did with just coming in January.
Yeah, mixed with the young talent that we brought in this year, we definitely have a special team this year and next year.
It's going to be some fun years to watch for Rick Barnes. But now getting over to football, like preview, we got Auburn in Auburn, which Coach Pruitt's familiar with these Auburn games, with how long he coached at Alabama, and just being around there in Georgia with the times they faced Auburn. So, maybe we can get lucky and pull it like last time when we were an underdog going into Auburn, because say what you want, Pruitt is just the one who has like Auburn's number in a way, you could say.
In a way, yeah. I mean, JG probably had one of his best. Well, besides the Missouri game, JG had his best performance against Auburn in Pruitt's first year.
That is true.
Went down to the Plains and stole one from him. So hopefully we can do that again next week.
Yeah, and in a way, I'm okay with because us having the bye week too.
Yeah.
Because some of our other guys that were like you could say big time playmakers that have been nicked up a bit, like Jalen McCullough, who's been dealing with the turf toe. This gave him an extra week to let that come back to where it's not going to be bugging him, so he can be back to maybe full speed with running. Because I didn't even know he was dealing with it as much.
I didn't either.
But it makes sense now seeing he was a little bit slower, because we've seen how quick McCullough can usually be. But it's just good to get like those minor injuries and those guys rolling back into it.
And it's also it's going to be very interesting to see who he trot out at quarterback, because Pruitt said that JG didn't really practice because of the concussion.
Because he was still in concussion protocol.
He said that he saw this past Wednesday, that was the best practice he's seen out of his receivers and quarterbacks the entire season.
And it's like, I know everybody's going to read into it so many different ways.
Yeah.
I guess the way I took it as without the veteran presence, the younger quarterbacks are finally maybe starting to click with something they weren't earlier on in practices, is a way you could see it as well. So anybody who read, like, I know you saw the same stuff I did, people reading it multiple different ways, but again, and it's like when people were upset when Pruitt's like, no, I'm always going to trot the person who does the best that week out there. How else is a coach supposed to do it at that point? It's like if they see one guy earns it, they're going to give them the reps.
Yeah, and but I definitely think it'd be interesting. It's like we said last week, we really don't have anything to lose this season. So it'll definitely be interesting to see for sure. Because I would like to see Harrison, because I also read that people on these football geniuses on Twitter saying, these couch coaches saying that Harrison Bailey's not the guy. Like, oh, he did horrible against Arkansas. We have to keep in mind he took his first snap of the game whenever we were down 2 scores with 4 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. Like, you're going to be forcing the ball in places that you shouldn't be throwing the ball just because you're trying to push the ball downfield. You're trying to get something going, and that means you have to take a chance on where you throw the ball.
That is true, and that's most freshman quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If I remember last year, like Maurer forced a lot of throws. Like Stroud, as a redshirt freshman, was forcing a lot of throws, and I remember JG's redshirt freshman year forcing a lot of throws. That's just that inexperience because you're used to being like able to make those throws at a high school level, where you may face a defense with maybe 2, 3 good guys on it. But when you're getting in the SEC, you're going up against 11 guys out there, the best of the best, like you're facing at that point when you're like the quarterback. 11 guys trying to get the ball from you. So you're going to see those freshman mistakes. It's with every position. Like, look at sometimes freshman receivers. One of the catches you say they should easily make, but we'll see them all turn too quickly and the ball fly out of their hands at that point. So I'm not like really worried about Harrison just yet because again he's learning at that point.
There's no reason to be worried about him.
But just still even thinking about staying with a little bit of a quarterback, it's going to be interesting. You could say come spring
with Caden coming in,
with Caden Salter coming in, just with the year he's putting up, and this is in I want to say Class 5A in Texas is what he is. And Texas football is no joke. Like, middle schools look like mini colleges up there at that point. So, it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And but just staying with our quarterbacks, it's like, Harrison's young at that point. And, again, so, in a way, we could say, hopefully JG is able to at least, travel out there. Because you want to be able to take the best guys you have out there.
I mean, that'd be amazing. Next year we could take Harrison, Kadon, and JG all to away like that. That's a good quarterback. Well, at least we think it's going to be a good quarterback.
Because you got the veteran in JG who's still going to be able to help get when he, like we said, has his on games. He's lights out at that point. And here's the thing: if you also do notice, look at how many times he even helps coach up the younger quarterbacks. Like if you see them bummed out, I have seen so many times him go pick their heads up, be like, dude, shake it off. You got this. I remember when he got benched last year, when Maurer messed up a little bit, how many times did you see him trying to help pick Maurer up at that point just to shake off the young and the shakiness at that point? So that still shows, in my opinion, what somebody who is caring about, because he cares about this program.
And it's been cool to see the progression of his character while he's been here at UT. Because I remember Bush Jones last year here against Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah,
JG went off on the bench by himself because he was mad that he didn't get to play.
That was the whole from everybody saying promising the full competition, but it looked like it wasn't really given. So
he basically threw a temper tantrum.
But it's showing the maturity over the years.
Over these years, it's been cool. It's been nice to see him progress character-wise, and he definitely has become a big-time leader on this team.
He has. It's maybe not the full vocal leader that we were all hoping. You can see some quarterbacks be, but there's still the little bit of the leadership qualities to an extent he has.
But it is hard to be a vocal leader whenever you're on the same offense as Trey Smith.
Yeah, that is true. When Trey is the one guy, that will really rally everybody together. But still looking more into this Auburn game, in my opinion, one player that we have to watch out for, Anthony Schwartz. That is literally when you hear coaches refer to a player as a jackknife,
that's Anthony Schwartz.
That's Schwartz. He can go catch a pass in the backfield as line up as a running back, go into the slot, or any of the receiver positions.
And this dude has track level speed too. He's fast. Very
He's
fast.
probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest receiver in the SEC.
Oh yeah.
At this point.
After Waddle got hurt, it's definitely him now.
Yeah, but Schwartz is just one of those tools that you hear coaches talk about. You just love to have because you can do anything with them. And even you could say their run game's going to get scary with the way Tank Bixby has been doing as a true freshman. Right there, good size on him. And then I mean, Bo Nix is just.
He's Bo Nix. That's all you can say.
Yeah, it's just that's going to be a scary offense to face. But the one thing I think that'll help us, Auburn's defense is not as good as they have been in years past.
Yeah, for sure. They, definitely. It definitely hurts them that they lost. They lost a couple big presents on their defensive line last year with Derek Brown getting drafted.
And their D-line used to be their biggest asset on their defense. But you could probably agree with me on this. The one defender that is making the biggest name that we're going to have to, make a game plan for, Owen Popo.
Yes.
Who has been a force on their defense since his true freshman season last year. But Popo is going to be all over that field, and we got to make sure because he can do it all. He can be an edge rusher. He can go in, play inside linebacker for him. He can drop back into coverage almost like he's a safety. So that's a kid we got to work our offense around at that point.
So on UT's side, who do you think has the best game? Offense and defensive.
I don't know. That's hard. I think this is going to be a good game for Eric Gray out there to utilize, especially if Auburn's D-line has played like they have been before, where they're not playing as good. I mean, they started clicking a lot more now with the younger guys. But if they go back to what they did earlier in the season, I think Eric Gray can help get some holes to where he'll be able to make some of those linebackers miss at that point. So, again, everybody's they want to see us open up the field more. I think just knowing how Auburn's D-line is probably one of their weakest points in their defense, this is another one we probably got to hammer the run game or until it stops working at that point.
Hammer the run game and throw in a little play-action wrinkle here and there. Just try to catch them on their heels for sure.
And then defensively for us, I want to almost say maybe our DBs, just because, again, still our D-line's improving a bit. If not our DBs, I want to say our edge rushers, with guys like Tyler Barron, Kavon Bennett, Morvin Joseph, Roman Harrison. They're all starting to fill their way in. So those are going to be, I think, Tennessee's crucial parts on there because we need Bryce we'll probably need either Slaughter, Dio Jackson, Key Lawrence to all help out and lock down Anthony Schwartz. I don't care if you leave one other receiver, for one guy to guard two people, you got to lock down Schwartz and have him double team the whole game.
But yeah, I definitely agree on the edge rushers. They had a pretty good game against Arkansas, but before that, after the Missouri game, they were relatively quiet. We had a hard time getting pressure.
That we did, and I think now it's just starting to see the younger guys. The game is slowing down for them stepping into that role that we've needed them to. Because I remember you and me had spoke about it before. I would see so many guys pressuring, like Kevon would try to get up there, and so would DeAndre Johnson. But then DeAndre was getting nicked up a little bit, and then Bennett, everybody just knew they were the biggest presence on the edge, so I would see almost two O-linemen holding them back at that point, or a lineman and a tight end, so they weren't able to get that pressure that we needed.
Yeah, and I think we need to come up with some more creative blitzes for sure. 'Cause, we haven't really done the best at disguising them these last few games.
Some of those creative safety blitzes, last year when
send Tank on some blitzes.
Yeah, last year I remember when Schamberger used to have all his little blitz packages that
coming out of the nickel position.
Yeah, it's maybe do some of that stuff out there. I wouldn't necessarily say Tank because we might need him back
Yeah.
there a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing Flowers do it
Yeah.
because Flowers at least has, I think, a little bit more speed than
Yeah.
Tank to get back there. I like Tank a little bit better in the coverage field for
Yeah.
us at that point. So that's why maybe I wouldn't necessarily say all the blitzes for him as I would maybe a guy, or even like Theo Jackson coming up from that nickel spot at that point.
Yeah. But let's get into the matchups a little bit here. ESPN gives Auburn an 86% chance to win. No surprise there. They're going to go into the matchup ranked number 23 in the country. Bo Nix, he's Bo Nix. He's good. 1,400 yards passing the ball. 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the year. Tank Bigsby, like you said, 503 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's a dude. He's good. And all of Auburn's receivers are good, really.
Yeah.
It's basically pick your poison.
It is, but I know it's like just the one I always hear everybody talking about is Schwartz because he's just their do-it-all type player. But, yeah, and I was going to say, looking at even Bo's stats, like, I get it, it's also a limited schedule, but 9 touchdowns to, 4 interceptions, I've seen him do better in general, but I feel like, though, it's like, again, he's still a young quarterback, too, doing it, and they did lose a good bit of guys for him, so he does have some young guys around him helping out,
but it's like you said, you got to keep in mind, he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, so, but I think as long as we get, we got to get pressure on Nix, because you fluster him enough, that's where his mistakes happen. Yes, he may be a dual threat quarterback, know how to run, but you can't let him see there's no play and then take off running. You have to make him start running from the get-go.
Yeah, you got to make him uncomfortable back there for sure. But Auburn, they've been putting up 28 points a game. Gus Malzahn, offensive mastermind, no surprise there. 22. Auburn's been giving up 22 points a game. That's good. Really all across the board, they're a solid team.
I agree, and what makes it interesting is this gave us an unexpected bye week, and Auburn had their bye week this week. So it's really going to be an interesting matchup to see it that way. With it, and hopefully, like I said, I think we can turn things around. I still got faith. There with everything that's coming, there's just a lot. I remember seeing something. I agreed with a lot of the younger guys. I want to see take those next strides. One young guy they mentioned was Warren Burrell.
Yeah,
and knowing
he's been relatively quiet this year.
Yeah, he has, but seeing the little flashes he showed as a true freshman, I like Burrell as a player. A lengthy corner right there for us. He may not be as hard hitting as Bryce and Alante for their stuff, but he's still got that length to help. You could say I remember seeing that one pass interference. He was on the wrong side of the Arkansas game, which you could have agreed could have really gone either way. But Burrell's the type of corner that can make those plays at that point too. If he has to sacrifice 15 yards just to stop them from gaining 40, he'll do it at that point.
And he's had an injury this year that's kind of held him back too, so you also have to keep that in mind. But I want to see big things from him for sure. Yeah,
and then a player I mentioned last game podcast who was also in it, when I said Tamarian McDonald, knowing that Pruitt has praised how quickly he has been able to rehab and just how instinctive McDonald is. He is one of those players. I remember when he signed, I told probably maybe 2 or 3 of my friends, that's a kid you're not keeping off the field, no matter what. Yeah. Even if he only plays on special teams, you are not keeping that kid off the field.
And it's like we said pretty much every week. Put your playmakers on the field. He's a playmaker.
He is. He's got some speed. He knows how to hit, and when he hits you, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I don't want to be on the receiving end.
No, but in a way, Tennessee, you could say, in staying on football, had some kind of good news as well from the weekend for the football end.
Yeah.
Even though it's leading up to his decision, 5-star linebacker Smile London was supposedly visiting on campus this past weekend. So, it's still looking like a Georgia thing for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, this at least can still give you maybe a glimmer of hope that.
I'm glad that we got his last visit.
Yeah, I am too, because like he said, he just wanted to make sure, like, he was making the right decision, wanted to see it one last time.
Yeah.
So, it almost makes me think there's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's not, that you still have a chance, because if he was 100% sold on Georgia, he wouldn't have come.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a chance.
And the fact is, he's a quiet kid.
Yeah.
Like, plays it really close to the vest at that point. You could, like, again, this could just be me. His recruitments remind me of Eric Gilbert's.
Yeah.
All the buzz was around Alabama. Gilbert then commits LSU. Again, it's not going to necessarily be that same case, but all the buzz is around Georgia. But how do we know that's where he's going to go? Because Gilbert kept things relatively quiet as well.
Exactly.
But staying with recruiting, it's still looking like Tennessee is still in good shape. Because when Nyland Green spoke to I think it was Chad Simmons of Rivals, or he told some of the 24/7 guys, like leaders, he's like, he's not looking at the Tennessee record this year. He's looking more at how is he going to fit into a team's defense, which, in my opinion, you love to see the high-end athletes who would rather focus on that rather than a record, because they know they could be that key piece that helps flip it at that point.
Exactly. And, like, a lot of those kids, they wouldn't be, like, they know how Tennessee used to be. Like, they know that we used to be the powerhouse in the SEC. And, like, whenever you listen to a lot of our recruits' interviews, they say, I want to help them get back to where they used to be.
Yep, I remember Crouch said that. Henry T said that. You've heard so many guys talk about the days when they were talking to.
Well, Terrence Lewis said that.
Yeah, Terrence Lewis has said it. Aaron Willis has said it. So Salter has said it. They seen even though some of these guys were really young at the days, who were not some maybe at the time. It's I mean, still early 2000s. Yeah, some of these kids were just being born at that time to still see it. But still, to see the year before Fulmer's last year where he led us to that SEC championship, they were still around to be able to know we were one of the top in the SEC. So I'm still liking what Pruitt's doing, and like with the recruiting, and none of these kids have really shown signs of wavering. Like, every time I always see them saying they are all Tennessee, no matter what.
Yeah. And it's definitely nice to see, for sure.
That it is. And, it's just something like during these rougher times, that's the things that can make you look at the bright spot up there for the future. And because we know how coaching searches have been, so I'm like not wanting to go through one. Like one of our SEC rivals is about to, with South Carolina which is shocking with how many schools are losing revenue because of all the COVID.
Yeah.
I was not thinking a lot of coaching changes would happen.
I wouldn't either.
I remember with the VolQuest guys, it was Rob Lewis said football is going to be losing at least $50 million in revenue just because of all the COVID stuff that hit from like ticket sales and everything. So you add that on top, them losing that, calculating how much of the buyouts needed, it would just be way too hard, in my opinion, on it. So, and people are like, but it's his third year, his third full class. Truly, this was his second full class. His first year, he had like 3 weeks before the early signing period to put a class together, and then up into the rest until February to put a class together. So, this class is the third class I really count for Coach Pruitt right there. It's like just seeing how all these kids are staying locked in, and eyes are still all on what the move for Smile Munden, Nyland Green, Tyon Evans, and then Taiwan Malone are going to be doing for us, because those are like our top, you could say, 4 guys that we're pursuing that looks like the Vols are in the best shape to land at this point. And if you close with those 4, that's going to be a solid class at that point, even with a down year like this.
Yeah. But you want to talk about basketball anymore? Tip-off's in what?
Tip-off
9
is
days?
When the day this gets uploaded, it will be 9 days. Like the day of us recording it, it's 10 days till tip-off, so it is Wednesday the 25th.
Day before Thanksgiving. To get you a little basketball action.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, that what's considered Black Friday, the men have a home game as well, and I think that's when the Lady Vols open up their home basketball game. So technically a doubleheader for basketball as well. So men's and women's basketball starting very soon. That's going to be a fun time, like seeing what Barnes and Kelly are going to be doing for this. Like, I'm excited there.
Yeah.
And just thinking how there was like one game on each of their schedules that stayed. I am so happy for it. UConn and Kansas. Like, I would have understood if they would have only wanted to do conference, but I'm just glad non-conference games are able to happen. So knowing that we still get Kansas for men and we still get UConn
both of them
for women,
too.
Both at home, those are going to be some great games
to
see at this point. Like,
yes, they will.
I'm just going to say this, for all the students, you are going to want to be at both of those games at that point, because I swear, they are going to be ones you will regret if you don't go to.
These are games of a lifetime right here.
Big rivalries right there. I remember seeing one of the last times we played Kansas when Skylar McBee helped drain the threes against them, and then knowing just how that Tennessee-UConn rivalry is, that's something you're excited about. But like I said, other than that, I think that's about it for all the sports. Just again, another reminder, the interest meeting will be at the track at 6 p.m. tonight, so come on out, pay your dues. And if you want more information, check the Rowdy's social medias, their Instagram and Twitter at Rocky Top Rowdies, and you'll be able to see more on that. But until the next episode, I just hope everybody has a great Big Orange week, and go Vols!
Go Vols!